So I wanted to ask you about that because I know last time you had to run because of that. But a question is, a lot of people want to get into, high end real estate, sports, entertainment. Everyone sees how glamorous it is on TV. Wanted to just ask you about kind of how you got into that sector and if it's all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, so I've been doing this 17 years and started off with working with um, anything that came my way, rentals, lower price condos. And the more that we help people, the more that people gave our name. And then as we started selling over 100 homes a year, people would look us up and say, I trust you to work with somebody of high net worth. So we started working with developers. We started also working with professional athletes, entertainers, and things like that. And it is a niche that could be very profitable. It's a niche that can really expand what you're doing, but it's also a niche that you have to work at the times that they're available to work.
Which is obviously what happened last time. So for a newer agent that wants to get into that space and do high net worth, or whether it's celebrity or entertainment, or maybe just luxury real estate, what advice would you have for them if they want to get into that?
I would say don't focus on it. Focus on delivering excellent service. Focus on marketing to the higher net worth capacity, but don't let that be your only focus, because when you're dealing with people like that and you're dealing with clients like that, they don't come every single day. So you need to have a balance of business where you're working with the traditional buyer, you're working with a investor, you're working with a high net worth athlete, and then you mix all that together, and then you'll see where your business thrives from there. It was never an intention to start doing that, but as we grew, it came naturally.
That's awesome, man. And, congratulations on all your success. I know you've grown a team and, place and EXP and all the stuff that we'll definitely get into. I'd love to ask about how you first got your start in real estate and the first transaction you ever had, if you could share a little bit about that. Are you stressed out juggling? Oh, shoot, I really can't juggle. Now my dog's gonna grab all of it. Okay, listen, this video is brought to you by All-Star VAs. Are you stressed out juggling your calendar, your email, all of the tasks you have to do, plus your personal life, which doesn't leave you any time to actually do the stuff that you got into real estate to do, like going on client appointments, negotiating deals, all the fun stuff? Look, if that's you, I have a solution for you. My team of all-star virtual assistants helps me do all of those things so that I can do the stuff that I love doing. And we can install an all-star virtual assistant for you in your business, whether that's an executive assistant, a social media manager to blow up all your accounts, a marketing manager, an inside sales associate, a customer care manager, and plenty of other positions starting as low as $4 an hour. All you got to do is go to allstarvas.com, book a call with our team. We'll tell you all about the program and see if it's a fit for you. All right, back to the video.
So when I first got into real estate, I actually wanted nothing to do with residential real estate. I met with a commercial realtor, and he basically explained to me that commercial realtors, they don't work nights, they don't work weekends, and there's no emotions involved. And I'm like, perfect, I'm ready for that. So I interviewed all the commercial real estate companies, and the last company I interviewed was Coldwell Banker. And Coldwell Banker said, hey, you know what? You would be great as a residential realtor. And I said, you know what? Thank you, but no thanks. I'm not interested in that. I left the appointment. I went home and I had 3 people call me saying they wanted to sell their personal homes. I came back. I called Coldwell Banker. I said, hey, well, when do I sign up and how do I get started in this residential real estate sector? Jumped in and started doing real estate. My first deal was a $55,000 condo. I was trying to figure out what came first, what came next, and how to proceed. And I was able to help this person that everybody else rejected. And they were so appreciative. And that's what people don't understand in this business, that there's I'm a man of faith. And, in my faith, basically, it says those who are faithful in the small things will be blessed with the big things. And I helped this person out so well with no expectation of anything in return. And she happened to work for a $1 million seller that ended up coming through that. So I took care of her. I helped her through. I treated her like she was a $1 million client. And because of that, she shared with her supervisor. And I was able to get another transaction that was a lot stronger based on me doing a good job from my first transaction.
Man, Damon, that's such a great story. Both aspects of how you got into residential, and then about doing a great job for that client. It's funny. I always tell new agents, like, don't discriminate on price. You never know when that first client, or client that's not buying a super luxury house, will refer someone to you that is, or down the line as they keep trading up. You just never know. Treat everyone the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome, man.
never,
That's
and
cool.
always stay humble. The thing is that, you never forget where you came from. There's people out there um, that I've met with that said, "Hey, can you help me find a rental?" And I looked over their financials and I said, "You know what? You could actually be a homeowner." And they were like, "No, no, my family, we only rent." And I have a friend of mine that I was able to help get out of renting, get into a single family home. And now he has over $200,000 in equity because he trusted me and we were able to make that happen. So for me, it's so rewarding to to understand that we're not just in this business to make money, but we're also in this business to help people. And that in turn will bring extra business.
Yeah, that's awesome, Damon. That's so cool. And by the way, I should mention you are in Coral Springs, Florida. I'd love to hear a little bit about that so that everyone watching this can send your referrals your way.
So yeah, we are in the Coral Springs, Parkland area. We have an office here, and we have 12 realtors, an operations manager, marketing assistant, listing coordinator, and a transaction coordinator. And basically, we in the Coral Springs, Parkland area. There's luxury real estate. There's regular single-family home real estate, and we've been in this sector in this market for over 17 years. When I started out, I previously was with another brokerage, and then recently, 3 years ago, came over to EXP and the fast forward movement. And loving that we get to work where we play. Very connected in the community. We sponsor a lot of the sports teams, the schools, a lot of events, and we love to give back to the community in the Coral Springs, Parkland area. But we also cover a large area because we have one agent in Orlando, Florida, and then we also cover from West Palm Beach all the way down to Miami Beach. So it is a great large territory, but I personally focus on the Coral Springs Parkland market.
Awesome, Damon. So the agents and everyone you mentioned earlier, is that part of your team that you run then?
That's all part of our team. Yes.
Got it. Okay, cool. So you talked about a lot of things there, switching brokerages and stuff like that I'd love to get into. But first, I just want to ask you about, in terms of team versus, if I'm a new agent and I'm looking at maybe joining a team or just joining a brokerage like an EXP or a big kind of group within one of those brokerages. What's better, worse? What's kind of some advice you would give to newer agents these days?
It really depends on each individual situation. I meet with a lot of agents, and some of them I think is a great fit to come to a virtual brokerage like I'm part of. Some people I still send to my previous brokerage. Some people are great to join a team, and some people are great to be an individual agent and possibly build a team. But I made some mistakes, and that's what I love to share with people is I started out, I started blowing up and getting busier and busier. So I thought the best way to build a team is to grab a bunch of agents and have them come work for you. Well, I didn't realize that that actually made me the assistant. So I brought all these people on and I'm trying to dish out leads and manage the CRM and I'm trying to help all these agents. And I realized I did it absolutely wrong. So once I hired a coach, my coach was able to sit down with me and explain that in order to build a team, first you got to build a foundation. So we brought on an assistant, and that assistant revamped our whole system, fixed our domain, created a logo, put together marketing, helped us to look more professional on social sites, and did a really good job of turning us from a realtor into a corporation. Uh, After we had that, we continued to grow. And then after we had a strong foundation internally, we ended up bringing on multiple agents. And now it was a totally different structure where I was not the assistant, I was the lead agent. and all the agents reported back to our administrative assistant who was in charge of the rest of the day-to-day operation.
Man, Damon, I'm so glad you went through this because, or through that example, not that you went through the pain of it. I went through the same exact thing. And if you hire in the wrong order, that's, where you really get into trouble. I think it's so important what you just said about hiring, the coach, then the assistant, and then building out from there. Now, is your assistant, I'm big on leverage and systems. Is your assistant local or is that a virtual assistant that you've hired?
So we hired an in-house assistant, and I didn't know what I was hiring. I just brought on an assistant. And the same day I brought the assistant on, I got 10 new listings. And I basically sat the assistant down and said, hey, listen, I'm going to be running crazy for the next 30 days. Here's our CRM. Here's our couple of training videos. And right next door down the hall, there's another assistant that you're welcome to pick her brain. But I'm not going to be able to help you for 30 days. And throughout that 30 days, we were looking at each other like, is this really working? I'm not helping you. You're barely helping me. And then once we got caught up and we put things together, it actually meshed very well. And she was able to help me get out of my way and to grow in a way that helped everybody succeed and to take the focus off of me and the day-to-day operations.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Now, was it hard to make that first hire? A lot of agents I talk to about growing and hiring and treating your business like a business, they have a really hard time with that first hire because you're paying out money, obviously, that a lot of agents perhaps don't have. How did you, get through that period?
Well, that's a real thing. It's scary to say, wait a minute, I'm committing to feeding somebody else's family. And if this person's at this amount of salary, like, what if I don't make that much this month? So it was a tough decision to make, but I read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and it basically explained that you're not hiring somebody. If you hire somebody at a huge salary, you're not hiring them at that salary. You're hiring them for 90 days, which is a tenth of the salary, and or a third of the salary. And basically, what you're doing is through that time, if that system is moving the needle, then you're committed to it. If it's not moving the needle, then it's time to reconsider. So I made the choice, and I sat down this girl and I was like, listen, I think that we would be a great fit to work together. I'm hiring you for 90 days. If 90 days it's successful for both of us, you get to stay. And we went ahead and we grew very well together. And it was nervous. I was nervous at first to bring on somebody at a salary, and now I don't understand. I wouldn't be unable to understand how I could do without it.
Yeah, Damon, that's so true. And to that point, I still say that to every single hire. We just hired a group of inside salespeople for, some of our companies. And that's exactly what I say to them. Hey, I'm hiring you for 90 days, right? And you have to give me a return on this investment, for both me and for you to make it work. And so I think that's a great way to do it. And then you get to stay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Perfect. So, Damon, you talked about environment. You switched from one brokerage to EXP. I'd love to hear, kind of what the motivation behind that was and how that transition has gone for you over the last 3 years.
So I'm not quick to jump. I've been in the business 17 years and I've only been with 3 brokerages. I love the brokerage I was at and continued to grow.
I don't know why that thumbs down came out. That wasn't me. Sorry.
You're good. So I loved the brokerage that I was at, but I realized that I hit a ceiling. We hit the mega agent capacity that we weren't actually in the brokerage office. We had our own private office. So every day we came in, we went and did our own thing, and we kept growing. And we really needed support from a brokerage, and the brokerage was not giving us a support. So we were invited to go to a fast forward movement, Honey Badger EXP real estate event. And that was 3 years ago. We went to the event and I was like, this is exactly what we need. Let's go ahead and make this transition. And I was excited to move on and go into it. But then I came back and said, did I really give my previous brokerage everything I had? So I jumped back in, the team jumped back in, and we committed to a year. Then COVID happened. We committed to another year. And then I realized we were still at our same ceiling. I reached back out to Dan Beer, Kyle Whistle at the Fast Forward Movement and said, guys, I'm ready for a change. I'm ready to grow my business, and I'm ready to have people that have a vested interest in my growth be my partners. And at that point, we transitioned over to EXP. We purchased a commercial building since EXP is a cloud brokerage. We purchased a commercial building that my team gets to work out of every day. And we plugged into the systems, the coaching, um, the opportunities. And even last year in a down market, we were up 40%.
That's awesome, man. I love that. And what do those numbers look like for you? What's your goal this year in terms of transactions or volume, however it is that you track it?
So yeah, so we are looking to do 100 million in production this year. And we are looking to do over 200 transactions. There will be luxury mixed in with those. So not all of those will take us, it's not like our dollar per transaction lines up just with that, because we have agents that love to do rentals. We have agents that love to work with first time home buyers. And then we have agents that like to work with celebrities and high net worth clients as well.
That's amazing, Damon. Well, congratulations on all your success. I want to talk a little bit about what you mentioned there with your commercial building. A lot of times when I'm talking to agents and, EXP maybe comes up in the conversation, they will say that, well, it's a cloud-based brokerage. I need an office to go into. Sounds like you kind of solved that issue. How does that play into your business plan or your wealth plan of owning that building? And how does that work?
So basically, we bought the building, we renovated it, we made it a place that we can come into that just gives us energy, has a lot of stuff posted throughout the office, and gives us motivation each day. It's also an investment. So every year, before when we were at another brokerage, we were paying rent every month. At the end of it, we could stay there for 15 years. And at the end of it, we walk away and we helped pay, somebody else's lease. Versus here, we're investors as well. So we had investments that we were doing at the time. So we did a 1031 exchange and took the money from one of our investments and we purchased a commercial building, which kept our costs down. And then we went ahead and continue to use this as a way that we're paying down principal to eventually own the building free and clear, which will create generational wealth.
That is awesome, Damon. And other people that are watching this, I mean, that's such a great thing to do. I don't know what this software keeps putting some sort of thumbs down there. It's not me. Thumbs up, thumbs up. That's such a great idea. And I know it's interesting because of the brokerage where I was before, a lot of the franchise owners would buy the commercial building, but they actually never recommended that the agents do because they wanted them paying their rent. So that's fantastic. All right, David. So you're going to do 100 million, 200 deals. You got everything kind of going really well. And someone may look at this from the outside and go, oh, he's got it all figured out. He's got no problems or challenges. I know that's never the case. So I'm curious, what is a challenge or issue that you're working through right now in your business that you're looking to get through or solve?
So it's always it's always important. We have a very large database. We have 75,000 people in our database, and making sure that all of those people are consistently being nurtured, being taken care of, being serviced, and as they raise their hands, that they're being communicated with. So that's one area for opportunity. The other one is making sure we have the right people. So we have a lot of agents, and every agent has a different way of doing things. Some people will prospect every morning. Some people will work their sphere of influence. Some people will door knock. Some people will do open houses. So we are really focused on making sure that we have enough people doing all the tasks that need to be done to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. So we are looking to hire agents. We just brought on a new operations manager to tighten our systems. We are also looking to bring on a leads manager or a leads coordinator to make sure that all of our leads are completely responded to, have a reminder set, and in a correct status with follow-up plans.
Awesome. And are these, as far as the administrative positions, are you hiring all those like in-house there locally, or have you looked at virtual assistants for that?
So we have our operations manager is in-house. Our transaction coordinator is local, but not in-house. And then we have two virtual assistants. We call them our international partners. They really are the grunt behind the operation. And we have one in the Philippines and one in Argentina.
Fantastic. I love that. I love that name for them. That's a good one. Yeah. Just to integrate them. So, Damon, you said you're hiring agents. Question for you there. What do you look for in some? I give up on this software. What do you look for in a great agent that you're going to add to the team?
So we like to hire agents that are newer, but not too new. So we're looking for somebody that has at least a year in the business, preferably have done at least 5 transactions, familiar with the day to day, and we will take somebody that's more seasoned in the business, but we're hoping that they're not too comfortable in habits because when we get somebody that's newer but is somewhat established, we're able to help build them to the systems that we know that work within our fast forward movement and within our place partnership. When you bring somebody that's been an agent for 25 years, they have a hard time adapting to the new systems that we're explaining work and maybe they're not used to.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And Damon, on that note, I'm curious, like in your experience, because you've seen agents that work out and do really well. You've probably seen some that don't. What do you see as kind of the key differences between those two groups, between the ones that maybe don't make it and then the ones that are super successful?
It's really about being a self motivator. We've had a lot of success with hiring people that come from the restaurant business, people that come from a sports background. If they had to be part of a team, if they had to push their body even when they didn't feel it. Like my kids all play travel sports, and there's times where my kids are like, "Dad, I feel weak today," and I'm like, "Cool, drink a little water and let's get to the game because we have to perform today." And I feel like when you've learned to push your body, when you've learned to when you're in the restaurant business and you have 10 tables and you're trying to get to everybody and multitask, I think that that's been a smooth transition. Some of my better agents have been agents that have come from those backgrounds, and they appreciate being able to multitask and also have the opportunity to not be capped on income. If you want to, in the restaurant business, if you want to make more money, you grab an extra table. In real estate, if you want to make extra money, you go back in the database and you pull a lead out of the pond and you convert it into one of your clients, and that turns into a paycheck. So you're not capped when you work with one of us.
I love that, man. That's awesome. And so, agents that are watching this, if you're in South Florida or want to move to South Florida, which is a great place to be, by the way, I told you my parents are there, and I love visiting out there.
Been
We're
here for
actually,
quite some time.
I'm actually planning a trip with my 10-year-old to come to the F1 race in Miami in May.
Nice, nice.
He loves racing. So, Damon, tell me, you mentioned, and I did see it on your website, a partnership you have with Place. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And what exactly is that?
So yeah, you mentioned these decisions. Like as a realtor, you first get: should I join a team? Should I not? Should I grow a team? Should I not? Should I hire an assistant and have to commit to that salary? Well, I put my money where my mouth is, and I also am not a hypocrite. So basically, there's agents on my team that have a split with the team. So I looked into all of the benefits that Place had to offer to our team so that we could have full health benefits for our admin team, for our agents. The fact that Goldman Sachs gave Place $100 million to grow the organization and to go public. And all of my agents have an opportunity to invest in a company before it IPOs, which is huge, as we're able to buy stock at a discounted price. And then we're also able to double dip on stock and revenue share as we bring new people into the company. So I had a choice to make. I was coaching with Ben Kinney and Brian Gubernick with Metrics Coaching for years. And every time we go to an event, I would hear people talking about Place. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to split my profits with anybody. There's no way. It's just not going to happen. And then I started watching the people that were right here with me. I see them expanding and expanding. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm stuck at a ceiling and they're growing. And even after they're giving up a percentage of their profits, with the amount of support that Place is providing, they're actually growing. So I got to a place where I was very close to making the decision. I reached out to a close friend of mine who made the decision before me. And she was like, the only regret I have is that I didn't make the decision sooner. So December 31st, 2023, I made the decision to join Place. And we have really, really, really grown as a company. The amount of support, the legal support, the HR support, the onboarding and training and coaching, the technology. It's been a whole different level of where we ever thought we would be.
Amazing. And, I think it also goes back to kind of running your business like a business, and a CEO and a corporate mentality. I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. Is that something that, you think you were born with, that you kind of learned along the way? Because the reality is most agents don't treat their business that way. And for most of them, it's just a job. So where did you pick that up along the way, and how did you evolve into that?
Yeah, I definitely wasn't born with it. So I'm a high D personality, and I'm just like this, 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 this. In my first 10 years in real estate, it was basically my P&L was basically, is my bank account doing well or not? And if you ask me how many transactions did I do, what was my sales volume, what's my average dollar per transaction, I had no clue. I was just like, it's working, whatever we're doing. But I managed Ralph Lauren for a lot of years. And when I managed Ralph Lauren, I was in charge of over 300 employees. I was in charge of P&Ls, projections. So once I stopped just winging it and said, wait a minute, I do understand that this is a business and we need to run it as such. I started to get, the right people around me, getting a CPA, getting a coach, getting people that have done this before. And that was very beneficial. But then when we joined Place, it took it to a whole nother level where we have administrative reviews. We meet with our financial partners and go over all of the what's working, what's not, what needs to be cut, what needs to be added, where are we most profitable, where are we not profitable, what needs to be changed. And that is a huge benefit.
Yeah, I love that, Damon. I mean, one common thread I see with real estate agents who are successful and run big teams is they do treat it like a business. The other common thread I will tell you I see is coaching. You've mentioned that a couple of times. I wanted to ask how that came about, and how your coaching relationship is, because again, the interesting thing is that agents who are not successful typically don't have coaches, which I always say to them, hey, imagine that, right? The ones who are successful get coaching. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that, how that plays into your business.
So I'm a big guy in sports, and when you look at somebody like Michael Jordan, you realize, wait a minute, he didn't need Phil Jackson. He's a great basketball player. But he gives so much credit to Phil Jackson because Phil Jackson's sitting on the outside looking in and says, wait a minute, they're double teaming you here. If you were to just go this way or dish the ball this way. So there's things that you don't know that you don't know. So what I basically did is I looked at coaches that accomplished where I want to be and reached out to them and asked them, how can I get to that level? And how can you help me get there? I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So for me, it was just, what gaps do you see in my business? How do we fill those gaps? And it was very helpful to have people that were pouring into us, people that I could go to. And, I had a saying in my men's group that a wise man learns from other people's mistakes. So when I'm in trying to grow mode and I'm in growth mode, I'm making mistakes all over the place versus hiring somebody. I always use the analogy, if you had a chance to open a cell phone company by yourself, or if you had to open a cell phone company with Steve Jobs, which would be easier? And it's
100%.
beneficial to have somebody that is already in the trenches, that knows how to do it, that is saying, no, just do it like this. It's gonna work. And once I got my first coach, probably about 10 years ago, uh, I've continued to keep it going since then. And just, I believe that coaching, you can evolve into a different kind of coach. And then, you grow from there and you just continue to find the right, whatever your goal is, you find that right coach that's going to help you get to the finish line.
Yeah, Damon, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's great that you found that and kind of made all the right moves there. So Damon, what's next for you guys out there? In terms of either your business or what you have kind of going on that you're really focused on to grow.
So we are very focused on expansion. We're focused on passive income. So we get passive income from our EXP partnership. We get passive income from our Place partnership. We also get passive income from our investments in purchasing residential, commercial properties, Airbnbs. But our big goal right now is we are tightening up our systems and practices in our Coral Springs office so that we can expand to start an office in Orlando and then also one in Georgia.
Excellent, Damon. That's awesome, man. Well, I think you're doing all the right things, and obviously your business is growing, and you're growing because of that. And so, the agents that are watching this can certainly get a lot out of all the value that you've provided. And thank you so much for that. What is a piece of lasting advice that you'd like to give to all the young budding agents out there who want to get to be where you are?
Well, hopefully it's to get past me, but one of the big things is, we really try to focus on not forgetting where you came from. There's going to be calls that come in, and if you work with $1 million client and then somebody calls you for $100,000 condo, it's hard to treat that person the same way. And I just feel that it's so important to never forget where you came from, that our main job in this industry is to help people accomplish things that they never thought possible and to continue to build relationships. Also, understanding that your client is not your only client. The realtor on the other side of the transaction is your client. The management company is your client. The lenders are your client. It takes an army to get a transaction to the end of the table. And sometimes we get in our own way. And I see agents that are disrespectful to other agents. I see agents that call lenders and treat them like they're, the bottom of the earth. Like, hey, you do this. Rather than, hey guys, like we're a team. We all want to get to the same result. So I think the biggest thing is staying humble, remembering where we came from, and treating everybody the way that we want to be treated.
Great piece of advice, Damon. Well, I so appreciate your time. This has been amazing, and you've given so much value. And so, guys, so many things you can reach out to Damon for, whether it's a referral to the South Florida area. We'll have links to all of your stuff down in the description, or if you're an agent, looking for a team to join, or someone who may be considering a switch to EXP. Damon's a great guy to talk to about that, or about Place. So lots of really cool. And of course, if you're a buyer or seller, great place to go for all the South Florida real estate. And Damon, would love to hook up with you next time I'm down there. That'd be fun.
Sounds great, man. Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for this. It's been amazing.